I think everybody is feeling the pinch right now. Price increases on everything across the board, including our craft supplies. Also, less availability. I will admit, I really liked shopping at Joann. I know that Kirshner's is going to be carrying a lot of the big twist. I know Mary Maxim has some, but I really liked going to the store and there was a lot more there. I loved looking at the fabric, just lots of different stuff that I will miss. This really got me thinking about having to become more resourceful. There was no one more resourceful when it came to craft supplies and making clothing and making home decor than my grandma. My grandma was the oldest of 9 kids and she lived through the Great Depression. I have to say, I am so grateful for the time I got to spend with her and how much of an influence she was on me, and just really taught me that you can be creative even if you have no money. So let's talk about everything my grandma taught me about getting craft supplies and being resourceful. I took a ton of notes, so the readers are probably going to be on and off this whole time. And I just kind of wanted to make this a little more casual and just kind of chill and talk a little bit about, how much I learned from an amazing woman. Now, these aren't going to be in any particular order or like ranking or anything like that. It's just going to be some different categories and then what I do there. So the first one is going to be thrift stores, secondhand shops, consignment stores, anything like that. And for starters, my grandma and I used to go to those places a lot for like clothing, purses, coats, like foundational type of items. So it is a great place to start your search if you're looking for anything. And like if you're just looking to save money in general. But what I like about this too is that I have found pieces that I have thrifted and then upcycled to, with crochet to make it a little bit better. I did a collab with Litsa from Coco's Crochet. Oh my gosh, quite a while ago. I can't remember when it was. Was it a whole year ago? I can't remember. Anyway, in that collab, we went to the stores. I will link that playlist for you if you are interested in checking that out, because it's a good basic way to really like fix up some things or find foundational pieces to wear with your crochet. I like crochet to be like the star of the show when I'm wearing it. So a lot of times I'll want the other items to be a little bit more plain or whatever. And I think this is a great place to really look for basics, things you can layer. So the next one is to just look at their craft supply section. Some thrift stores have really great, sections. Other ones do not have anything, or it's crazy overpriced. I have really seen, I like to check out a lot of different places, and it really just depends on, I think, who's running the store and how much they know about craft supplies and how important it is and all that. I have seen some amazing yarn hauls from Claire over at Woodshed Theory, and I'll put a link down in the description box to some of those. But that's just something I always look for, and there's things there also at the thrift shop in their craft section that, it might not be yarn, but it might be something you could definitely use. Anyway, I have found numerous amounts of like purse handles, buttons, closures, beads, things that aren't like first in your mind as, oh, this is crochet or knitting, because it's not like a crochet hook or knitting needles or whatever, but it has been things that are great. I have found fabric that has made great bag linings, zippers, pretty sure I said buttons already, but a lot of times I found like beautiful vintage buttons that are even made in the United States, but they were made in the 60s or 70s and just gorgeous, and for a fraction of the price that you would find buttons at the craft store. So definitely check for all of those things. And then I also look for things that I can deconstruct at the thrift store. So definitely when it comes to it, again, it depends on the thrift store and what the pricing, of course, is. I always check out the section of like belts and handbags, because a lot of times I have found purse handles, like not like a handle the hand, but like the long strap, like a crossbody strap. I have found those just like wound up in with the belts, and they're not a belt, it's a purse handle. And then all you need is 2 D-rings on the side of your bag, and you have got a great bag handle, bag strap for, next to nothing. I've also seen that too, as far as like sometimes these places, there's a bag and it's $1 or $1.50 and you love the strap on it. That's gonna definitely be cheaper than you could find a bag strap like on Amazon or someplace like that. Same way with the handles. If it's something that you can deconstruct and take apart without ruining it, if it's cheaper to do that than it is to buy it new from a craft store or Amazon, definitely consider doing that. And I also check out, every time I'm in a thrift store, I do always check out the crochet sections. So I look at the blankets to see if anything needs to be rescued. And I haven't done this personally, but I have definitely heard of people who have taken blankets that they found at the thrift store and frogged them all if they loved the yarn and the yarn was in great condition, so that they could repurpose that yarn. So that's definitely an option. So look around in those different areas. One time I saw Katie being creative. She had found a bunch of granny squares. I think they were Christmas ones in a bag, like unfinished, like a bunch of squares were made. And if I remember correctly, she made some more. I think she made it into like a little Christmas top or vest or something like that. So half-finished projects at the thrift store that get donated, that's also something to check out. Don't rule it out. And kind of along the same lines of a thrift store is going to be rummage sales, garage sales, yard sales, whatever they call it in your particular area. Check those out. Because again, you can find things at a lot of these where, someone has tried a craft, doesn't like it, and they have a ton of it they want to get rid of. So there can be great prices on that. The one thing, of course, and this goes with your secondhand stores, is if you're buying something like yarn where, fabric you can throw in the washer easily, no problems, but yarn is definitely trickier. So definitely, use common sense. If it's dirty, if it's smelly, things like that, use common sense. I'm trusting all that. But definitely look at the craft supplies at these different type of sales. I live very rurally, so there aren't a lot of them going on. So I'm not going to them every weekend, but I try to hit ones where a lot of the surrounding towns in the surrounding counties, they will have citywide garage sales. So to me, it makes more sense just to grab a friend and drive, a half hour to one of these towns and then, hit 20 garage sales. That has been far more successful for me. But if you live in a city or an area where, during like the spring and summer, they're having them regularly, knock yourself out. I'm just not going to drive to a town just for one. Now, I will drive to a town for an estate sale. And I love finding like vintage home decor. I have found great needlework, different things like that, like home decor. But sometimes you will hit the jackpot and find at an estate sale someone's entire craft room. I have been to ones where there's like multiple sewing machines, tons and tons of fabric. I mean, just like a really great craft room, like equal to my grandma's type of craft room. Those are great ones for stocking up on supplies too. One of the best things that my grandma was good at was she was like an original upcycler, if that makes sense. Like what they did out of the Great Depression and out of necessity, now we look at as a sustainability thing where it was just getting by for them. And she really lived by that mantra. She was not going out and buying new stuff if there was something she could upgrade herself. She spent a decent chunk of change on a couch and it lasted her like 40 years. In every decade, she sewed like a whole new slip cover for it. So I remember that couch having like 4 different prints to it. Like, I think I can go through pictures and just see how it evolved over time. That's just how she was. And they did that because they had so many kids and they were very poor. And so it was out of necessity. And with her being the oldest, she was in charge of doing a lot of that stuff for sewing for her siblings. And it was just one of those things where even when her siblings were adults, so this would have been like after I was born, her siblings still a lot of times came to her for that type of stuff. She was putting patches on jeans. She was just doing things she could to help lengthen the lives of these items for people. When it came to a clothing item that was no longer serving the purpose, like if she could not patch it, or it was just too worn out, or if there was no one smaller to give it to as a hand-me-down, that type of stuff, she would take things from these clothing items and put them to good use. I remember she really worked at salvaging my grandpa's jeans for like that he would wear out in his workshop. But when it came to a point where there's too many patches, that much stuff, she would do things like take the pockets, because she would add the pockets to other things. She would take buttons. She just always had jars of, like jam jars and jelly jars that she would take the buttons from. So like there was brown buttons, there was a jar of white buttons, there was like a jar of colored buttons, all of that handy for her. And she just wouldn't let it go to the waste the way, in present times, a lot of times we are like, oh, this is worn out. It's a piece of junk. I'm throwing it in the garbage or whatever. And she did not do that. The same way with if it was, say, a shirt or something like that, and it could be repurposed for a lining in something or made into a smaller shirt. I had literally the best Barbie collection. Not the Barbies, but like my grandma made so many Barbie clothes for me. I mean, my friends were kind of envious. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, that was kind of a thing of the times in the 80s, the 70s and 80s. I mean, she took scraps of, like her shirts and my grandpa's shirts and made them into Barbie clothes and baby doll clothes and things like that. So it's something where that fabric can still be reused if it is in good shape. And as far as crochet goes, that could be a bag lining. It could be a hat lining. There's all sorts of things like that. The same way with like a lot of different linen that she had. And I have seen different videos where people suggest going and like using sheets to make a big skirt and stuff. And while I don't know how well that really works, I'm a little bit skeptical because, different fabrics for different purposes. But she did save a lot of that stuff and use it for like patterns and mock-ups and ways to like really create things. So, if there was sheets that were, stained and just worn out and faded or pilly, she didn't throw that out. She kept it and was like, what, if I want to make a pattern, I can use it out of this. If I want to make a prototype, I can do that. So those are all great things, again, to reuse some of the stuff. Can you take a zipper off? Any type of embellishments. I know there was things where, again, it was, like I said, the 70s and 80s. So I feel like there was more like lacy embellishments on something. She would cut that off and apply it to something else. Elastic, is there a waistband that can be used? All sorts of different things from your existing clothing items. Does it need to be thrown out, or is it something we can take off and reuse? Oh, one thing my grandma did not know about was online marketplaces. The internet was just becoming a thing when she passed away, and so unfortunately she really did not get to experience all of that. Obviously, Facebook Marketplace, if you are in a larger area, that can be a great resource for you to find straight up craft supplies. Sometimes people are destashing and are selling large amounts, so check there. There are also certain, I think they call them like buy nothing groups, where if you join those, they're generally, again, in larger areas, but people will throw up there if they're just giving something away, and you can reach out, kind of like Facebook Marketplace, but it's like stuff that's free and not for sale. I had to check my notes. Yeah, freecycle.org. That is one of them. You can check Reddit for swap groups, and you can also check on Ravelry for sale trade yarn. And of course, there are places like Etsy or eBay, maybe Mercari. I'm not sure about that secondary market where people can be selling if they're just trying to de-stash. I have a feeling, like I said, people are going to know there's going to be a demand for big twists, so they might be selling some of that stuff. Check those places out. Another one that Claire from Woodshed Theory had talked about was the Goodwill online auction. And I don't have personal experience with that one, but I will link some videos of hers down in the description box with the other ones, with her thrifting ones, where she ordered from Goodwill. I think, is it goodwill.org, goodwill.com? I'm not sure, but their auction site, I'll have it linked, and you can go through and bid on different lots of yarn there. So another great option. And my grandma definitely would have been all over that, especially the online auction. One of my fondest memories of like crafting with my grandma and then my aunt is that they were so generous with their supplies. And that would be something where I remember on multiple occasions being with my grandma and like wanting to make something. And if she didn't have kind of what we were looking for, she would call her daughter, my aunt, and, you know, she would come or we would go over there and go through like bags of fabric or, you know, whatever it was we were kind of looking for, beads or whatever. You know, just having that where you can ask a friend or a relative, like if you have someone in your life. There's been several times where my friend Jeanette and I have asked each other, like, do you have any orange Super Saver? I know I asked her for that one time, and she actually did have it. You know, one time she was like, do you have any of this yellow chenille, or what is it, yellow just chenille from the Dollar Tree? And I was like, yes. So, like, just if you have a yarny friend that's local to you, ask if there's something you're looking for. They might have something that they no longer want or didn't, you know, like I knew when my friend asked me for that chenille that I was never going to use it in a project. It just wasn't the right colors for me. I'm just not a pastel person. I mean, they're beautiful, but it's just not something that I'm probably going to work with. So if she could use it, I was like, more power to her. Let her have it and make something beautiful out of it. And I have talked about getting together with some people. I just have to do it. I just have to make the effort to do it. These would be more like acquaintances of mine, not like my friend, but like acquaintances, people I know, but I haven't really ever hung out with, but I know that they crochet or knit. And I've put some feelers out to them. And, you know, we might eventually get together and do a yarn swap type of day where everybody just brings stuff. And if we want to trade anything, we can. One thing my grandma was really good at was knowing like discount stores. When she was alive and when we were crafting together and that type of stuff, I feel like there was more fabric stores. We used to go to a Hancock Fabrics very frequently. That was in a town near us, and I believe they were bought out by Joann's possibly, or Michael's. I'm not sure. If you know, write it. Let me know down in the comments. That was something where we also, you know, we looked at Walmart. You were able to get craft supplies. They have some now, but I feel like it was much of a bigger section than it was. They had just different stuff. And that was something where she was good at knowing like what stores have different things the cheapest. So that's always a great place. Dollar Tree is going to be someplace you can check. My thoughts on Dollar Tree yarn is that when it was $1, I thought it was a great deal. It's $1.25 now. It's an okay deal. If prices continue to rise at Dollar Tree, I don't think it's going to be a great deal. So that's something we just really need to watch, kind of keep track of. But, you know, I have gotten crochet hooks there. I know that there's knitting needles there. There is like small pieces of fabric. There's other things you can buy there. I have bought headbands to crochet around at Dollar Tree. I have bought lace ribbon there. One of my favorite projects, and I'll see if I can find a picture. I think there's one on my Instagram. I bought several pairs of like cheap dollar or $1.25, depending on when I bought it, slippers. So definitely like inexpensive, but I took and crocheted like granny squares to go on the foot strap part, just sewed them on there. I also did some for a Halloween collab where I bought the same type of slippers and made cute little bows and just attached them. So there's definitely things at Dollar Tree that you can get. The same goes for, you know, your organizing bins. And I I will say, I should reverse it back for a second, but while you're at like garage sales and yard sales and stuff like that, look at the organizing supplies, because I have gotten some great organizers, little shelving units or the plastic things that you would put in a closet to like put sweaters in. Those are great for storing yarn. All sorts of stuff like that. Check for those organizing supplies at your, really thrift stores too. Probably all these places. Check for organizing supplies as well. And then there's always stores like Ollie's. Unfortunately, I don't have one near me, but I have seen so many great yarn hauls from Ollie's. The other type of stores like that would be like a Big Lots or a Tuesday Morning. Those are still in existence. I am not sure. I know a few years back, a friend of mine got some yarn she was very pleased with at Tuesday Morning. So check those out. Consider those if they're in your area. Now, the next one is going to be totally personal preference, whether this suits you or not. But I would encourage you to try new to you stores. People have different reasons for shopping or not shopping at different stores, and I am 100% not going to debate the merits of that. And just as a heads up, like I do have a bunch of words in my blocked words list, so I don't want it to be a thing in the comments where it's like we're gonna bash a certain store. I'm just throwing this out there because as we have less stores available to us in person and prices are going up, sometimes we make compromises. Now, I have always shopped at Hobby Lobby because I live in an area where there just isn't a lot of yarn stores, and I take advantage of what is available to me. And I'm going to be honest, I like a lot of their yarns. Now, would I agree with every political stance or every action they've ever done? That's just not something that I even care to think about or dwell on or debate or anything like that. But what I know is they are in my area, they are in a lot of rural places, and they have a great yarn selection. The other thing is that to make this a little bit more timely, and I will do a full video on what you need to know about shopping at Hobby Lobby if you haven't done that before, but coming up, usually in June, they have a once a year clearance sale where they mark down everything they're not going to be carrying the next year. Yarns immediately go to 75% off. It is a great deal. I have had enormous hauls in the past. I did not partake in it last year, but it's definitely something where if you're needing to get yarn for absolute fantastic prices, consider checking that out. I did when I was in Des Moines. I stopped at a Michael's, even though that is a store that I have not had a lot of success at looking for yarn, but I stopped because one was available to me. I did not buy a lot. I just picked up one yarn. It was this loops and threads facets, because I have seen people for like a year or two now have this, and I've loved the colorway. But that's something where, I'm not a regular Michael's shopper. I've never ordered online from there, and that's just something where I have to open that up, and if I'm in a place with them, I will stop in and see if there is any. Walmart is also a place. They don't have a huge selection, but if you are looking for budget yarn, it is a great place to check that out, and they are available in most towns. I know a town near me, it's about 4,000 people, 4,000 to 5,000 people, and they have a Walmart with a fantastic craft section. So while you might not be able to get a lot of like super high-end yarns, it is great for a lot of different projects. Another craft thing that is coming up, it'll be a little more timely again, and I will have a link to the Facebook group or the Facebook page for Spinrite. I have ordered from Spinrite before, and at the end of this month, at the end of May, they are going to be having an online tent sale, and I got amazing deals on yarn, and I'm going to get a little bit sidetracked here for a moment, so just indulge me or go right past it. It doesn't matter. I believe it's like if you buy 3 of something, you get a 4th one free. You have to order 4 and then they just, do that. Now, the thing that is strange about it is you're not going to be able to go on a website and order. So what they do is they are posting everything on their Facebook page that will be for sale. And then you email them the list of everything you want, and then you also give them all of your contact information. So your phone number, credit card number, I believe, all of that stuff. And then you give them all of that, and then they email you back or call you. So let me grab something that I got from there. I think this is so crazy. Since I was able to get them, this was a couple years ago. I don't know if they have these available or not anymore, but I think I paid about $7 each, and I got a couple free because I think I had ordered 6 or 8 or something like that. But I got this, what do they call it? A monster ball. And it is, I mean, it's just budget acrylic, machine washable, 4-weight. I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's green acrylic 4-weight budget yarn. But for $7, and this is 32 ounces. So 2 pounds, the equivalent is 900 grams, and it is over 2,000 yards of yarn. And I'm actually going to be breaking this out probably this fall because I've got a big project that's going to use a lot of yarn. Yeah, I'm excited about that. So finally be putting these to good use. But look at that. It's bigger than my head. But yeah, so I got these from a tent sale that they did. And for me at the time, now they are in Canada and I am here in the United States. So I am waiting to see. They said they will be posting all the details on their Facebook page as to whether or not you can order if you're in the States. But when I did, I was able to. So I'm thinking you probably will be able to, but who knows? But they don't have any clear-cut thing on how much it'll cost you to ship. So it was just kind of like, I hope this isn't going to cost a fortune type of scenario. But when I ordered, I put it all in, I emailed them, they called me, and I didn't really know when they were going to call or whatever, but they called me, and then I read off my credit card, they processed my credit card, and they shipped it to me. So it was, not your normal process of like online ordering. And I want to say at the time, I did believe I paid about $15 or $16 in shipping. But again, outside the country, and I had such a giant value on all of the things that I bought that it was worth it. So I will, if I have old footage, I will put that down so that you can see it of like, I swear I saved a clip of me opening the box of that. That's kind of a great segue here. Sorry, I have something in my eye and I hope that doesn't look crazy now. Anyway, that's kind of another great segue too of like international online shops. So I love the Wool Warehouse. I really do. I have ordered from the Wool Warehouse. They have some really, really great yarns there. The shipping was like $6 and some change to get it to me. So I didn't think that was bad at all. You can get drops yarn there, which I think is a really, really great value for yarns that are nice. I mean, when you're ordering like European yarns, they're a lot smaller than we're used to here in America. But yeah, they have drops at the Wool Warehouse. And then their like house brand of yarn is called Yarn Smiths. And this merino DK, this was only a few dollars. I don't remember how much it was, like probably $3 or under. For 50 grams, it's 100% merino. It's a DK, extremely soft. I love it. So I did get several of those with some Christmas gift certificate that I had. That is a great place to try some different stuff out. I also just ordered from a place called Linda Hobby, and that's out of Denmark. And Megan from Show and Tell Meg has done a video. I will link that on Linda Hobby. I will let you know after I get my stuff, like what I thought of I can tell you the shipping was $5, so that was good. But I'll let you know what I think of the yarn and how I think it compares and all that when I get it. Something I wanted to try that was totally different and something that really I have not found available here. Growing up, another great resource we had was like our local library. That was something where my grandma was really great about trying and like getting craft books, checking them out, checking out different sewing books, different things like that, working on it, returning them, trying something new. She was not a person who was willing to invest in like those books, especially if it was something that she was only going to use for a short time. Now, she would definitely purchase those things at like a thrift store or garage sale if they were super cheap, but she really took advantage of the local library. And ours never had any, like, we weren't in a big enough town where there was ever like equipment or anything to borrow, but I know like some places do, some different guilds. If you saw my video recently on the Des Moines Weavers and Spinners Guild, I believe they have like different events that you can go and you can try out some of their equipment and check it out and see if you like it before investing in it. That is phenomenal. And we always, if there was like a workshop that was put on by the library or another group like that in town, a lot of times we would take part in that. Like I went to a paper making one time. I remember doing like making puppets, like things like that, where it was different crafting type of skills, but put on, and it was free, and you know, you ended up leaving with whatever you made, and that was just really great. Again, as a kid, something to try out. Probably in bigger cities they have things for adults. So kind of think of your crafting supplies as ingredients and your stash as your pantry. Is there something that you know you use a lot of, and just because you don't need it right at the moment, although you can accidentally start hoarding that way, so don't go that route, but you know, like with the buttons and the zippers and that type of stuff, you know, if you find it somewhere, or if you're getting rid of something and it's going in the trash, see what you can harvest off of it, put in your stash, put in your craft pantry to use later. I think it is great to have a section of notes on your phone of things to look for when you're out and about. But most importantly, I have said it before, but just purchase with a purpose. Don't buy things because it is cheap if it's not something you use in the long run. I have fallen for that, and I have needed to rehome various things I bought because they just weren't suiting me well. So just be mindful, purchase with a purpose. I would love it if you have any other tips on how you have saved money with your crafting supplies. If you would put that down below, that would be super awesome. I would love it if you would watch the very next video that's about to pop up here on the screen. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I know this was a long video, but I just was excited to talk about this topic with you. I look forward to talking yarn again with you soon. Bye.